just a few things that have been on my mind. The American people, we really need to realize it's not me versus you. It's not you versus me. It's not Republican versus Democrat. It's us versus them. It's us versus the government. Our government used to be designed by the people for the people, but that's not the case anymore. Our government is by the government for the government. And I believe we are well past time that the American people came together, banded together, built a government that we could be proud of. A government that seeks to embrace freedom versus a government that seeks to encroach upon it, which is what our current government does. They tax us from our paychecks all the way down to every dollar we spend. Each dollar we spend gets taxed 3 or 4 times. From the gas that has sales tax on it plus another tax. Tobacco, which I don't use, but tobacco has sales tax and then another tax, like 100% tax on top of that. Same with a bunch of different stuff that our government's not for us anymore. It's not by the people for the people. We don't put America first in this country anymore. We're spending hundreds of billions of dollars to fund foreign wars, and we have veterans that have served this country, sacrificed for this country, are living on the street. We have children going to bed hungry. We have schools that have not been hardened. With all the money we spent on Ukraine, every single school in America could have been hardened. But if you ask me, half of those shootings are engineered by our government because they don't want to let a tragedy go to waste. Let's look at Uvalde, for instance, an absolute tragedy. And I think every one of those officers that stood outside of that school should have lost their job and been prosecuted. However, that kid had no job for over a year, had no money to speak of. Somehow he came up with $6,000 worth of gear just days before that happened. No purchases were made on his parents' accounts. No purchases were made from his account. Someone funded that money to get that top tier gear that kid used. And if you ask me, our government will most certainly do something like it. You know why? Because they don't want to let a tragedy go to waste. When a tragedy like that happens, they can use it to push to try to strip more of our freedoms. But if they really wanted to stop mass shootings, they wouldn't be going after the AR 15s. The AR 15s used in almost literally no shootings. I think it's less than like 1% of shootings, it's what it's used in. The majority of shootings are committed with handguns, and they're also committed within inner cities, mostly Democrat run cities. But like I said, it's not me versus you, it's us versus them. Even though myself, a Republican, and Democrats, we have differences in ideology, but we all want the same thing. We want a prosperous, strong, and safe America. We want to go about it different ways. Some of y'all want to strip my freedoms, even though I've never committed a crime in my life. None of my guns have ever hurt a soul, except for maybe the odd white-tailed deer. But if we all came together, if we all sat down, we could make a government that embraces freedom, that expands upon our freedom versus encroaching upon our freedom. It's time the American people came together and built a government that we would be proud to be governed by, that we would be proud to have represent us on the world stage. But instead, we have this tyrannical government that is in office now, a government that 100% needs to be unseated and replaced with a government that stands up to the original promises of our country by the people, for the people, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And you can't pursue that anymore. We have our countrymen in our Congress and our Senate that are saying the American flag is racist, that are demonizing the American dream. This is the great American experiment. We are literally a melting pot of hundreds of cultures poured into one that made this amazing nation. And we need a government that seeks to protect our freedoms. That's the only job our government has, is to protect our freedoms. That no other job, their only job is to protect our constitutional rights, and they seek to undermine them And when they swear an oath to protect and uphold the Constitution and they break that oath, that should be treason and they should be tried. But if the American people came together, we could make a government that we could be proud of. Remove this tyrannical government and replace it with a government that would embrace freedom instead of encroach on it. But, and here's another thing, and politicians, we've had politicians that have been politicians for 40 years. Power corrupts. That's why they shouldn't be allowed to serve more than 2 terms. After 2 terms, their political career should be over. They should be over. You can go to Congress, you can do 2 terms, and then you're done. You can't go to the Senate. You chose where you was going to run, you ran, and now it's someone else's turn because power corrupts. Power corrupts, absolutely. And we have politicians that have been in office now for 40 years that are supposed to be public servants, but have made hundreds of millions of dollars doing insider trading, something that you or I would go to prison for. America has a cancer, a deep and very terminal cancer. And I'm not sure that America can come back from this. I'm not sure that we can get off of this slope. We've picked up too much speed barreling down, and I'm not sure that we can put the brakes on and stop it. I hope we can, because I love this country with all my heart, and I want our government to embrace our freedom versus encroaching on it as it does now. Our government seeks to encroach on us. We have agencies like the ATF that are not lawmakers, make these rules that'll put you in prison. And if that's not writing a law, I don't know what is. Like the pistol brace. It's designed so disabled people can still shoot. It's a Velcro strap that straps to your forearm so you can hold the pistol out and still shoot. That's what it's designed for. It's to help disable. I mean, sure, other people use it, but it doesn't make the gun more lethal. It doesn't make the gun more dangerous. It doesn't make the gun shoot faster. It improves range on a pistol by like 25 yards. So let's stop acting like it turns a rifle or a pistol into this crazy killing machine. You're more likely to trip and fall and get killed in this country than you are to get shot. There's less than a 1% chance in America that you'll ever be involved in any form of a shooting. Less than 1%. I think it's like 0.0062 something something. I looked it up earlier. You're more likely to drown in the bathtub. You're more likely to get bludgeoned with a hammer, beat to death with a baseball bat, struck by lightning. Think about that. Now that's an exaggeration. Maybe it's not. But you're more likely to trip and fall than you are to get shot in America. Guns are not an issue in America. The overwhelming majority of people that have guns in this country have never hurt anybody and will never hurt anybody. That's like trying to take trucks away from every single American because there are people out there drunk driving. Doesn't make sense. Gun control is like putting me in jail because you might go out there and grape somebody. And honestly, if you're for this current administration, honestly, then that, to me, that tells me one thing, that you are for funding the cartels, because the cartels have run unchecked since this administration has taken office. The human trafficking has run unchecked. I keep waving my arms so this light don't go out. Motion sensor. Child sex trafficking has gone rampant. Human trafficking off the charts. Hundreds of thousands of Americans overdosing because of the unchecked amounts of fentanyl pouring over the border. if you are for this current administration, you are for the death of America. Communism, socialism, none of that is the way. That's why America has been the most prosperous country in the world, because, and don't point to these smaller nations. America has 300 million people, and then we have people that'll point to places like let's see, Sweden or something like that, and try to quote their gun violence versus our gun violence. And of course, we have more shootings in America because we have 300 million people. They have 20 million people. You see the big difference there? That's why quoting these smaller countries is absolutely absurd when you're trying to talk about gun violence, when you're trying to talk about any statistics. Comparing America to any other country is absurd because America is so ridiculously large. We have 300 million people and growing in this country. And you're trying to compare our statistics with countries that have 15 to 20 million people. Do you see the ridiculous difference there? So look, I'm gonna stop with that because I'm tired. My kids are asleep, and I want to go in there and get some sleep. Stay strapped, stay dangerous, stay free. Make your displeasure with our government known, but of course, do it peacefully. Call your local representative. Let them know that you don't agree with gun control. If you know someone that doesn't own a gun, someone that's never been shooting, offer to take them to the range. Show them a fun, safe, and competent environment, and bring them into the fold, because the more gun owners we have in America, the stronger we are. Because if all of us gun owners came together, we could change the face of America for the better, for our freedoms. Stay strapped, stay dangerous, and stay free, because you and I both know and see it every day. They are actively trying to take that freedom from us. God bless you. And why not like and subscribe? I feel so stupid when I say that shit. Anyways, guys, God bless you. Check out DLD After Dark if you have a chance. Awesome guy. John Crump News, also another awesome guy. If you want to stay informed on what's going on in the Second Amendment scene and don't own a gun, get a gun. If you're in Maryland and you'd like to go shooting, feel free to hit me up on here. We'll go to a range, very safe, indoors, range officers. I'll bring you into the fold. Long as you're not prohibited, that is. Because I'm too pretty for prison. Alright, guys. Stay strapped, stay dangerous, stay free. God bless you. Have a good night. I just gotta figure out how to stop it. Are you sure you want to stop streaming? I think I'm sure. Stay strapped, guys.